Hello and welcome back to another episode of Terrain School. This week we're going to work on one of our Midnight City kits. We're going to paint up this 84 MAUJER street into a more authentic looking New York style brownstone. I'm going to grab the kit, walk over to my paint table, and I'm going to start by painting a lot of the grey and cream sheets a reddish brown colour. Once I get the base coat of brown primer on, I'm actually going to spatter on some flat red. And this is really just to give it that colorization that's kind of typical that you would see with New York style brownstones. As you can see when using the spatter effect, sometimes the can drip. That's alright. I'm actually just going to do like a sponge effect on this anyway. So I'm going to get a rag with a little bit of texture to it, and I'm just going to go around while the spray paint is wet and sponge the two layers together. And that's actually going to show up some of the underpainting layer as well. This is a pretty neat effect. Spray paint starts to dry or tack up pretty quick. Then I'm just going to dust some Montana duck brown over the top just to give it a little bit of lightness, and again just add some more color variation. Next up is the gray pieces. I'm going to start by spraying those flat gray primer. One thing when repainting these pieces is you want to catch the edges with the paint. The laser cutter and the paint obviously doesn't reach those parts, so if you're repainting the kits it can be really helpful to focus on those edges. Then I'm going to dust a little bit more duck brown over the grey just to make it look a little bit more dusty. And then I'll go back over with some light grey primer, just spattering it to add a bit of texture. Then I'm going to paint the window inserts grey and follow that up with some more duck brown. I'm using a lot of the same colours for these because these buildings tend to be fairly uniform. Once the sheets are dry, I grabbed them and took them back to my work desk, and we'll get started on assembly. I'll start by putting the base, the ground floor together. Just using super glue for this kit. As always, I recommend using white glue if you want a much stronger bond, but for me this is a display piece, so super glue should be fine. This building is in two layers, so you have the inside walls and then the outside walls. So I just went around and placed those in. The next step is to build the front stairs. I actually noticed that I forgot to paint the inside of those, so quickly went and did that. I put the stair risers in, and then this is a step that some people can find kind of tricky. I've personally never had a problem with it, but just sort of slowly work all the stair pieces in to the holes on the other side, and then apply a bunch of glue over the top, and then add the outside cap piece too. And then place the stairs on the building. I had a little bit of glue drip out, so I just cleaned that up with a piece of card. We'll add the inside floor supports next, and then the bottom floor will go in. Then we started building the second floor. Again, pretty straightforward, just super glue, taking some time to test fit where I need to, and then I added the outside layers as well. Then we're going to take some Elmer's white glue and the roof base piece, and I'm going to paint the glue across the top of the base. Just being careful that we don't get clumps of glue into the grooves, as that's going to affect your fit on the walls. Put it into a tub, and I'm going to sprinkle some Woodland Scenics fine grey ballast over the top. Give it a good coating while the glue is still wet and tacky, and then we'll set that aside to dry. We'll put the front windows in. A little tip when removing these types of windows is rotate them out of the sprue. You'll notice here I show you what happens if you just push on one, and it's going to crack the bottom, and it's actually going to delaminate the MDF. So rotate, not push. That's what I always tell people. We'll glue the front fence in. And then we'll put the bottom air vents on as well. I didn't bother putting any paint on these because I wanted them to look like plain black wrought iron. Now it's time to put the window inserts in. Add some glue to those pieces, and then we'll go around and add some glue into the window holes and then where the inserts go. Just a little note when repainting kits is you'll technically be adding width to them. So sometimes it can make it a little tricky to fit them in. So just take your time, work them in, get a scalpel or a sanding block if you have to. But just know that if you're adding paint, it's going to affect the fit. I'll go around and do the same step for all the windows. I didn't have too many problems with the fit on these, but there was a couple I had to scrape away with a scalpel. The glue's dry and we'll get the roof out. And we'll go around and add all of the roof walls. Now that step's done, it's time to test the fit. And the building's looking really good so far. I'm going to get some Monument Olive Flesh and some Cardic Flesh from P3. I'll mix them together, I'd say equally, and then we're just going to do a dry brush across the entire building. First you want to wipe off as much paint as possible, and then start to lightly brush over the surfaces of the building, and it's going to pick up a lot of the edges and just really enhance the brick stone effect. You can also start to go a little heavier in the middles of some of these panels, really just kind of work your way up to it, and this is going to really help to enhance the overall effect that the stone has. Really start to sell the building as a structure. The next step is going to be getting some black primer, and I'm going to go in with my airbrush and add a little bit of shading and some grime and streaking. You should know by now that this is an effect that I almost always use. It really does help to add a lot of dimension to kits and add just some instant weathering. I focused on some of these vent holes as well to add sort of some grime and some exhaust looking stuff. Really just anywhere that I felt there would be rain streaking or grime. Alright, let's add some graffiti. I got some Posca paint pens in a few different colors, and I'm literally just going to go around and draw squirrels to start with. A lot of graffiti tagging from a distance looks almost indecipherable, so I'm kind of trying to play up that effect here. And it's the same type of principle when you see it on a tabletop. You're seeing it at a distance. Just vary the colors and you'll end up with a really good effect. Here I decided to do something that was a little bigger with a bit of different color in it, and I kind of just sketched it out, making it up as I go along. You could also open up Google and search for some images of graffiti and things like that if you wanted something more specific. There is also graffiti decals as well, but I find this is a little quicker. I'm purposefully being kind of rough with these as well to lean into that weathered effect. You know, the graffiti's on an old wall and the paint's dripping and all that sort of stuff. Now I'm going to take some Agrax Earthshade, and we're going to do a little bit of additional weathering, a little bit of additional shading. Just some of these ledges and some of these inside panels I'm going to paint and then add a bit of streaking down the bottom. This is really just to add a bit of an additional layer of weathering and some additional color dimension as well. I'm also going to focus on the base, where there would be a lot of dirt and grime. Just taking my time to blend it out. Next, I'm going to take some secret weapon pigments. I believe these are discontinued now, but you can get various different brands sell pigments. This is a sort of dark earth brown color, and I'm going to add this along the base just to add a bit of extra color. I printed out some newspaper sheets. I just got on Google and downloaded a newspaper and printed them on a laser printer. And first we're going to cut them out and then crumple them a little bit. And I put these directly into the wet paint that was on the base. You could glue them down with some white glue. Since I was under a bit of a time crunch, this was a nice, fast, quick step. Some of the paint will soak through as well. Next I got some of our resin trash piles. These I had painted earlier and I had them in my photography props box and just glued them down. An old chair as well that I 3D printed. And then a cardboard file box as well. And that's kind of the first stage of the detailing. I'm going to take some of our grass tufts. These will be coming soon. They're not on the website yet, but you'll be hopefully able to buy them very shortly. I'm going to go through and glue a couple here and there. You definitely don't need to overdo it with this step. We're going to put the door in, just making sure to put the glue along the top hinge and then slide it into place and then move it around a little bit to help the action work. Next, I'm going to take some of our new scenic leaves. Again, these will be out soon as part of our expanded scenic range. I'm going to go through and sprinkle some of these yellow leaves across the kit. And then I'm going to add some of the red color. And once you're done with that, you can glue it down with some watered down white glue. Something I wanted to experiment with was adding some window blinds and some curtains. I've had this idea for a while. I think I've seen some other people do it in model kits, and because there's not really any interior for this kit, I don't really mind if it looks a little dodgy on the inside as long as on the outside it sells. I'm going to put some white glue on and then glue those down, and I think they look really effective. And then on the ground floor, I decided to add some blue curtains as well. These are all just printed on the same laser printer that I printed the newspaper sheets, and I'm just going to literally fold them up and crumple them up with my hands. And then glue them into place with some super glue. You also could use real fabric for this as well, if you had some scrap fabric lying around, but I think this looks perfectly fine. As you can see on the inside, it looks a little janky, but on the outside, I think it looks great. I'm going to take some of our resin basing pack items. Again, these are coming soon. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on a piece of scrap MDF and stick these down. Once they're stuck down, we'll just give them a coat of black primer. And then the goal for these is just going to be to paint them very simple and quick, using some base colors and some washes. I'm going to grab a bunch of different colored paints. I won't walk you through all the colors that I'm using. If you've painted minis, you'd know that just use the colors that you want to use. This air conditioning unit, I want to make it look pretty dirty and rusted, so I'm going to use some dirty down rust on the top, paint that across and add some water and make it look as dinged up and destroyed as possible. I'm going to glue the air conditioning unit to the roof, and then this kit comes with a bunch of little conduit pipe pieces. We add those to a lot of our kits just when we have extra space on the sprue, and it's just an extra layer of detailing that I think looks really good. When you have such a flat open roof, I think it really helps to add a bit of extra detail. I'm going to start adding some base colors onto these pieces. It's really just, like I said earlier, base colors first. I'm not going to bother with any complicated highlighting or miniature painting techniques. It's really just about getting the base colors on and getting them ready for the kits. Unfortunately, I had a lot of these small pieces fall off, so you'll see as I go through, I'll lose a few of them, but it's fine. Obviously, if you want to do more diorama quality effects, you would spend a lot more time painting these. Maybe you could airbrush them, you could do a few layers of highlighting, paint the labels on the cans, things like that. I am going to paint the beak on the bird because why not, right? I'll also paint the bottle and the tops of the cans with some silver. While I have the silver, I actually decided to add some chip marks to the roof AC unit too. We'll paint the paper label on the bottle. Get a little bit of cheese on the pizza. Some pepperoni. You can never have too much pepperoni, am I right? And these are just about done. The last step is I'm just going to give them a coat of Agrax Earthshade, just to give them a little bit more dimension, a little bit more depth, and then it's time to glue them on. We have the stairs here, and that's the perfect place to add a few bits and pieces and some details. So I'll put the bird on the ledge on the second floor. Look at that little guy. And then some cans on the stairway railing and on the ground. On the roof, I'm going to add the milk crate and a bottle. And then a few more cans, a little paper bag. And then lastly, our good friend Pizza Rat. It's going to go right at the front there. And that's it. Another kit is finished. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, please consider liking and subscribing and drop a comment on what you want to see next. Until next time, thanks for watching.